Welcome back to another Caribbean Cricket Podcast show. I am your host, Machel St. Patrick Hewitt. This isn't really a cuss out. It's not even really a Caribbean Cricket Podcast episode as such. Really and truly, I just wanted to talk this is going to be about 15-20 minutes max, just a quick little video looking ahead to the West Indies Island ODI series. We're less than 2 weeks away from that series kicking off, a 3-match ODI Super League series. Points are on the line, so it is actually very, very important. And I thought I'd just record this video because I know what's going to happen. Once the squad is named, no matter who is selected by the interim selection committee, which is now, in terms of ODIs, that would be Phil Simmons, Kieron Pollard, and Jimmy Adams overseeing it, it is inevitable that no matter who they select, there are going to be column inches written about it. There's going to be people on radio shows cussing about it. So I thought I'd get in ahead of all of that and look at what are the likely permutations so that there is already some context put out there about likely selections for this ODI squad, so that I guess arguing that when the squad happens, people shouldn't really be surprised by the name selected because it kind of is what it is. But, you know, as ever, as I always say, walk with me.
We rule the cricket world. Now the rules seem coming.
Welcome to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things West Indies cricket. By the fans, for the fans. So first things first, before we kind of get into it, let me just do the admin, you know, because I have to get 2022. We got to get better at this admin thing and actually letting people know where you can follow the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. I'm starting to get well aware that every show or everything that we put out, there are probably new viewers watching it, as well as returning viewers, and you kind of want to know a bit more about us. So very, very quickly, if you want to follow the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Carib Cricket. We also have a website where you can that's kind of like a one-stop shop to find out everything, www.caribbeancricketpodcast.com. If you'd like to support the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, you can go to www.patreon.com/Carib Cricket for as little as to whatever your currency is, £2, £2, $2, whatever your currency is. If you'd like to support more of what we're doing, you can go to that website there, and there'll be some information about how you can support us as well. If you do happen to go to our website as well, we're down to the last 8 or 9 shirts in large or medium, Caribbean Cricket Podcast shirts. So if you'd like to buy one, they're now going for £10 if you live in the UK, £20 if you live abroad, no extra charges, no posting, no packaging, etc. So if you'd like to cop one of those before they finally all sell out, do message us, get in touch with us, and I'm sure I can sort that out. But that's all the admin out of the way. Let's get into the topic of the video. West Indies versus Ireland, ODI Super League, 3 ODIs. What is the likely squad going to be? We're trying to get in there ahead of the inevitable cussing, ahead of the inevitable outrage, ahead of the inevitable who deserves to cuss out of Pollard or Simmons. It's all inevitable. I'm adamant it's all inevitable. So we're kind of just going to jump in there first and foremost to say, let's look at this logically. Who are the likely names that can be selected and why it shouldn't be a shock if certain names aren't there? Now, first things first, if we try and break this down, what I've put on the screen first and foremost for you is a squad that was selected for Pakistan. Remember, we were supposed to play 3 ODIs in Pakistan, but due to the COVID outbreak in and amongst the squad, they flew home early after the completion of the T20, so the ODIs were not played. They have been rescheduled to happen in June 2022. But that was a squad that was initially selected for the Pakistan tour. Now, if anybody forgets or is looking at that squad going, but where's this player, where's that player, or you weren't really aware of what the squad was for the ODIs, quick reminder. Hetmeyer and Lewis pulled out for personal reasons for that ODI leg. They normally would have been in that squad. Fabian Allen injured. He normally would have been in that squad. Jason Holder was rested for workload purposes. He normally would be in that squad. That said, and we did a video, I think myself and Dino, I can't remember if Santoki was on that one, but we did a video looking at the selection for the ODI squad, and a few eyebrows were raised about this ODI squad. Certainly seeing names like Odean Smith in there was a surprise. Now, before anybody says, what do you mean that was a surprise? Odean Smith didn't have a good Super 50. He's not got an ODI record to speak of that suggests that he deserved a pick in the ODI squad. Clearly, he had been picked off the back of the fact that he was also in the T20 squad, because there was no rational explanation for why Odean, or to me, there was no rational explanation for why Odean Smith should have been in an ODI squad. So there were some question marks. Obviously, when Pollard pulled out injured, Devon Thomas got called up as his replacement. There's some question marks about that as well. But within the rest of the squad, although I'd have a question mark about Romario Shepherd because he had a shocking Super 50. So again, there's a question mark with Shepherd in terms of why he was there. But in terms of the rest of the squad, I think there was a justification for everyone else being there. Justin Graves, Shamar Brooks had steady, let's say good. They somewhere between slightly good and good. Brooks had a better one for me, but they had a steady to good Super 50, so it made sense that they were brought in as replacements. And everybody else in the squad, Ramon Reefer's there essentially as a backup to Jason Holder, so even that made a bit of sense. Multi was the top wicket taker in Super 50. That made sense. So everybody else in the squad, there was some element of rationale behind their presence in that ODI squad. However, it is important that if we are going to be selecting, if this ODI squad that we're about to select for the Island series is going to be a full strength squad, then immediately what I would say to everyone is do not expect the same squad to be selected as is on the screen at current. Okay. Remember that a lot of these placements, a lot of these players were technically cover for established players. So Justin Graves, Shamar Brooks, Ramon Reefer, Odean Smith, would they normally be there in an ODI squad? Probably not. I'll say that again. Graves, Brooks, Smith, and Reefer would probably not have been in a 15-man squad if everybody was available. Why do I say that? It must be remembered that in 2021, we played 6 ODIs only. Well, sorry, that's a lie. We actually played 9, but serious people don't count the Bangladesh one. We took a C team to Bangladesh. So serious people aren't really counting the Bangladesh series. I think the only people who are counting the Bangladesh series as a serious series, yes, there were points on the line, but the point is we took a C team to Bangladesh, right? The only people counting that are people who are trying to score points in trying to show that Phil Simmons isn't doing a good job. They're the only people who are counting the Bangladesh series. Anybody who's serious acknowledges the fact that we did not take our first team to Bangladesh for that ODI series. So I don't know how you can possibly count that as part of an assessment of the ODI squad. Okay. Come on, there were people like Kieran Otley were out in Bangladesh. Do you know what I mean? So anybody who's trying to count that, you're not a serious journalist, you're not a serious analyst. I don't know what you are, but you're not serious. Okay. The only ODIs that we can take seriously in terms of assessing this squad are the 3 versus Sri Lanka in February, where we won that series 3-0. And then the 3 versus Australia in the summer, where we lost those 2-1. On the screen right now is the 11 that played in the very last ODI versus Australia. That 11 on the screen right now is as close to the best 11. Oh, why have I put Holder twice? Sorry, that's my mistake. See what I mean? Best laid plans. Let me just see. Who have I done him twice there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, I've done. Sorry, people. Best laid plans. Even though I tried to edit this beforehand, I've made a mistake. Let me put this back up again. Apologies. So the 11 you see on the screen there is as close to our best 11 in ODIs at this moment in time. I know immediately some of you go, that's nonsense, but that was the last 11 that played. Okay, so if we are going to be selecting a full strength ODI squad for Ireland, we have to start from remembering what was our last full strength starting 11. Never mind the squad of 15. What was our last full strength starting 11? When you look at that 11 on the screen, what I would say to everybody who's looking at that is who doesn't get in that side? And even if you're not putting them in the side, who doesn't get in the 15? Arguably, as far as I'm concerned, every single one of those players on the screen right now gets in a squad of 15, definitely. Although there would be a question mark for me about Sheldon Cottrell. I would still have him about because he's a left arm quick, and there is no other equivalent. Obed McCoy doesn't really play doesn't play 50 over cricket because of his shin splits, so there isn't really an equivalent. People would probably call Preston McSween. He didn't have a good Super 50. So if we're talking about left arm quick, Sheldon Cottrell's in my 15. I don't know if he gets in my starting 11, but he's in my 15. When you look at the other 10, all of them are in the squad. All of them are definitely in the squad. I'd even argue probably the rest of the 10 are all starting no matter what. I'll let that just sink in for people first and foremost before I continue. So as far as I'm concerned, when we're talking about an Ireland ODI squad, I'm expecting to see all of those 11 names. And that means you can only have 4 extra names in the squad in addition to those 11. So again, if I put back on the Pakistan squad, who out of that squad that I haven't already mentioned gets in as your extra 4 names? For me, it's as follows. Gudakesh Moti gets in because he's effectively the backup to Akil Hussain. If Fabian Allen is ready, he's not played a lot of cricket. Obviously, he got injured, didn't go to the couldn't play in the World Cup. He's been putting on his Instagram a lot of fitness videos. He's back in the nets and so on and so forth. If they're willing to risk it, Fabian Allen would be there. Likely they're not going to because they're going to want him to focus on his rehab and probably come back for the England T20s and whatnot. But if Allen is fit and ready, you'd put Fabian Allen in there. But let's put him to one side and assume he's not ready yet. So Multi, that would be the 12th person. Even though I question why Romario Shepherd is there, because if we're going on domestic performance, he did not perform in the Super 50. That's the only 50 over cricket we've had. If you're going to let Romario Shepherd get in the squad of 15, you've got to be honest and say that's because of his T20 form, nothing to do with his actual 50 over cricket form, because there is nothing there to suggest he should be in a 15-man squad. But I'm willing to accept that Romario is probably going to get in there. Romario 13. Roston Chase will obviously be in there because of the off spin that whereas I have question marks about Roston in Test cricket, I got less question marks over Roston's worth in ODI cricket because his off spin bowling becomes more crucial in ODI cricket in addition to whatever he can do with the bat. So Roston Chase makes 14. And then really and truly after that, who are you looking at? Probably I'd say Brooks as the backup batsman. Whether from number 3 down to number 6. So that's your 15. So I'll go to the 11 again. That's the 11 who played against Australia in our last ODI, plus 4 players. I've got Multi, Brooks, Shepherd, big question mark. Who's the other player I had? Multi, Brooks, Shepherd. Oh, and Roston Chase. So that's your 15-man squad. So when people inevitably, like I say at the top of the video, come with this is a disgrace. How could they have picked this person? How could they have picked that person? This is a Caribbean Cricket podcast saying to you, listen, the 15-man squad pretty much writes itself. The only reason you wouldn't have any of those 15 people I've just mentioned is if for the following reasons. Someone's saying no because of COVID, because personal reasons they want to pull out there, or there's some kind of personal circumstances we don't know about. They're still resting Holder because of workload, because they know that England are upcoming. So maybe they'll still rest Holder. So COVID, workload balance for Holder, injury in the case of somebody like Fabian Allen. We don't know what the COVID recovery has been for those who picked up COVID in Pakistan. So there could be some COVID enforced injury type replacements as well. Those would be the only reasons I would expect any of those 15 names to not feature. And to me, it's that simple. So I really and truly, I mean, like I say, I'm going to wait to see what the squad actually is. I'm then going to be not surprised to see the outrage that then happens when certain players aren't selected. But like I say, and I think Santoki and I said this in episode 53 of the podcast we recorded, that the ODI squad is in a relatively healthy place in terms of the team writes itself. There's not as many question marks about who should or who shouldn't be in the team. In fact, before I recorded, I wrote down, well, what are the main question marks that we need to answer in the squad? And I've already kind of hinted at them. But for me, if Evan Lewis isn't available, then based on what we did with Pakistan, Justin Graves is probably your backup opener, because he opened for Barbados in Super 50 and did all right. So he's probably your backup opener at this stage in ODI cricket. If any of the middle order, top to middle order, aren't available, so that's Bravo. Look at the screen right now. Bravo, Hetmeyer, Puran's kind of the backup wicketkeeper as well. But Bravo, Hetmeyer, Pollard, Puran, Brooks is the cover for any of them. Before anyone says, why is Bravo? Why are you mentioning Bravo? Why are you mentioning Bravo? Bravo had a very good series versus Sri Lanka in the 3-match series that we won 3-0. He had a shocking series versus Australia. However, he still has money in the bank because of his strong showing versus Sri Lanka at home. It doesn't really matter if he was poor versus Australia. You're not going to drop a man just because he had one bad series when he already had one exceptional series at the start of the year as well. He's got credit in the bank still, so he ain't going nowhere. I don't care what argument you come with. He's not going anywhere yet. Okay, so Brooks would be the backup batsman if any of that top to middle order have to pull out. If Holder isn't available for workload purposes, then Ramon Reefer should get his chance. I would assume that if he, like say, go back to the Pakistan squad, he was part of the 15-man squad, so you would assume that Reefer would get his chance as the backup to Holder with the bat and the ball, and he deserves his chance in some format of cricket. The one question mark I do have is this. If they decide that Fabian Allen is ready, Fabian Allen walks into any West Indies team for me in white ball cricket. Looking at that squad on the board, who does Fabian Allen on the screen? Who does Fabian Allen replace, though? That's the only question mark that I've got. For me, it would probably have to be Bravo, because the one issue I've got with the 11 that last played in an ODI game is, and this was, remember the whole big palaver that existed at the start of the year about Jason Mohammed playing, and we did a video on it, and I was saying, of course, Hetmeyer should be in over Jason Mohammed. Of course, Mohammed shouldn't be in the squad, but Mohammed was there because he offered a 6th bowling option. If you look at that 11-man squad, the biggest weakness with that squad is it's basically 5 bowlers and Pollard's dibbly-dobblies. So there is an issue that I've got with that squad in terms of the lack of a 6th bowler. Some cricket purists would say the minute that you need a 6th bowler in an ODI team, your squad's not that strong to begin with, but you always want the option of somebody who can come in and cover for one of the 5 who's not doing their job properly. So Fabian Allen walked into that side, and likely if he's fit and they take the risk on him, then one of Bravo or Hetmeyer, obviously Bravo because Hetmeyer's got the higher ceiling, would have to drop out for Fabian Allen, and everybody gets pushed up one. So Holder would bat 6, Allen would bat 7, etc. So there is a question mark about how Fabian Allen gets in, but I've kind of covered that. The other question mark I've got with a 15-man squad, and I said I'm not sure how Romario Shepherd is in there. He has done nothing to justify being in a 50-over side. I went back and looked at Super 50, and I was like, well, if Shepherd didn't get in, who would get in instead of him? And the name that I'm pulling out is Niall Smith. If we talk about Super 50 and we're talking about a quick bowler who had a very good Super 50, Niall Smith would be the person who gets the nod. Like I say, I think Romario Shepherd is there because he's had a good T20 year, and he's starting to get noticed in other leagues for T20, and that's why him and Odean Smith must have got in that Pakistan ODI squad, but neither one of them has the numbers or the data to suggest they should be in an ODI squad. If we're going to be realistic about it, they don't. And I still haven't heard a valid justification for why either one of them touched an ODI squad. So for me, if Shepherd doesn't get in that 15, if all is well and everybody's available, Niall Smith would be the person I'd call up instead of him. And then lastly, if they don't go with Brooks, and I think Brooks has got the credit in the bank because obviously he came in for the last T20 game, or was it 2 of them or 3 of them? I can't remember now. Hit a sparkling 49 or whatever it was that he hit. So Brooks probably has the money in the bank. But if they are wanting to look at a new batsman as the backup batsman, the name that I would say, somebody pulls out, say like Pollard isn't ready again. There are numbers, and there is data to justify why Devon Thomas got the nod to be the backup in Pakistan for Pollard if those games had gone ahead. But for me, the person they should have picked if they were going on upside and age and potential, I would have gone for Casey Carty. Casey Carty in Super 50 topper last year, averaged 54 from his 6 games, 100. He got 100, he got a 50. His strike rate was higher than Devon Thomas's strike rate. So if we're in a situation where a Pollard or a Pooran or a Hetmeyer has to pull out, I don't want to see Devon Thomas in the squad again. Although you could argue he deserves it for being consistent in Super 50, I would prefer to go with the younger player with the possible greater upside, and that would be Casey Carty. But like I say, really and truly, the ODI squad already writes itself. So one more time with feeling for those who possibly didn't pick up on it. This is the 15. If all is well, this is the 15 that I would expect to be named for the Ireland ODIs. The 11 names that you see on the screen, plus Shamar Brooks, Gudakesh Moti, Romario Shepherd, and Justin Graves. That's the 15-man squad I would expect. Okay. Like I say, though, there is a question mark about whether Cottrell will get in. And if Cottrell doesn't get in, I reckon that possibly maybe Anderson Phillip will get his chance because he's kind of been in the squads. But I've kind of given you some names of people that I think should be in there, the Niall Smiths and the Casey Cartys, if people pull out again. But like I say, I've kind of looked at it. Again, as usual, like I say, a little quick video, this one, not a usual massive in-depth one. It's not even a cuss out one. It's just a little quick video to kind of throw out into the kind of ether. This is the kind of squad we should be looking at. These are the realistic names that we should be looking at. So if and when the inevitable outrage comes, when Simmons, Pollard and Jimmy Adams name the squad, do watch this video and do think, well, there is a logic. There is already a logic that exists for certain names being there. So is it really worth the outrage that some people may or may not come with? As usual, comment below, press like, press dislike. If you comment, I'll always respond to it. And as I say, share with anybody who you think may or may not want to engage with this. I'm expecting the squad to be named. What is it? It's Monday today. The first ODI is next Saturday. So literally, it's less than 2 weeks away. So I'm expecting the ODI squad to be named either on Wednesday morning or Thursday morning. So we can't be that many days away from hearing the squad anyway. So do share this with people and engage with the content, and of course follow the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. I've been Machel St. Patrick Hewitt, and this has been the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. Thank you and good night.
We rule the cricket world. Now the rules.
Welcome to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things West Indies cricket. By the fans, for the fans.